Hello, and welcome to the briefing orientation for new applicants of the voucher program. Today, we will be talking about your responsibilities, the landlord's responsibilities, and Fresno housing. Let's get started. First and foremost, we would like to point out the quickest way to start receiving rental assistance. Many applicants have the opportunity to stay where they live. We call this leasing in place. One of the first places you should inquire about affordable housing is with your current property manager or landlord. Leasing in place is just that, utilizing your voucher where you currently live. If you absolutely need to search for housing, remember to keep safe and follow the guidelines for protecting yourself from COVID-19. We recommend searching for housing online and contacting owners to ask if they have virtual tours, FaceTime walkthroughs, unit photos, or online applications available. As a precautionary measure, Fresno Housing has been conducting virtual inspections via video conferencing. For additional information, make sure you visit our COVID webpage at www.fresnohousing.org/COVID. Let's talk about some of the materials and documents you will be receiving. You will have access to a voucher program guidebook that you can refer to whenever you have questions about how the program works. This packet is for you to keep and does not need to be returned to Fresno Housing. You can download or print the packet so that you can familiarize yourself with the program rules and regulations. The certification of briefing was included with your letter and must be returned after viewing this presentation. The voucher form will be sent to you after you return your signed certification of briefing. Both the certification of briefing and voucher form must be returned to applicant portal at fresnohousing.org. If you have any questions, please contact us through the email address at applicantportal@fresnohousing.org or call us at 559-443-8400. Leave a detailed message and one of our Fresno Housing employees will return your call. On the certification of briefing, the signature line is located at the bottom of the form. On the voucher form, the signature line is located on number 6 towards the center. Once you complete this orientation and return your signed certification of briefing and voucher, you will receive the Request for Tenancy Approval, also known as the RFTA packet. This packet includes your voucher information and has forms that need to be completed by you and the landlord. Please be sure you or the landlord return the entire RFTA packet to Fresno Housing at hcvleasing@fresnohousing.org once you have found a unit and both you and the landlord have completed all the forms. Today, we will review where you are in the process of obtaining your voucher, what a housing choice voucher is, the responsibilities of Fresno Housing, the landlord, and you, what a reasonable accommodation is and how to request one, how each portion of the rent is determined, searching for housing, and how to use your voucher outside of Fresno County. The process. The voucher is your green light to search for housing. Fresno Housing selects the applicants from the waiting list, determines eligibility for assistance, conducts the program orientation that you're watching now, and issues the voucher to the applicant household. The applicant then leases in place or searches for affordable housing. Once the applicant finds a suitable unit, Fresno Housing reviews the RFTA submitted by the applicant and conducts an inspection. If the inspection passes, then the applicant signs a lease and Fresno Housing executes a contract. The family is now leased up. What are housing choice vouchers, also known as HCV? A federal government program for assisting very low-income families, the elderly, and the disabled to afford decent, safe, and sanitary housing in the private market. Housing assistance is provided on behalf of the family or individual, so participants are able to find their own housing, including a single-family home, townhouses, and apartments. Housing choice vouchers are administered locally by public housing agencies, PHAs. The public housing agencies receive funds, federal funds, from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, to administer the voucher program. This means that the tenant, landlord, and PHAs all have obligations and responsibilities under the HCV program. This is what your voucher form will look like. Voucher overview. The voucher is your official document which authorizes you to search for an eligible rental unit. It specifies the maximum level of subsidies your family qualifies for, as well as the voucher issuance and expiration date. A voucher is issued initially for at least 60 days. You may submit a request for an extension using the voucher extension form found on our website. Submit voucher extension requests to hcvresidents@fresnohousing.org. The clock pauses when Fresno Housing accepts the RFTA. There is no appeal process for the voucher expiration. When the unit passes inspection, you and the landlord must sign a lease and give a copy to Fresno Housing. The landlord will also be required to sign a contract with us. This means that everyone has obligations, rules to follow under the program. These family responsibilities include, but are not limited to, report any changes in writing within 30 calendar days, supply any information requested by Fresno Housing or HUD, obtain approval from Fresno Housing and landlord or property owner before a new member occupies the unit, comply with housing quality standards. The family may not commit any serious or repeated violations of the lease, and failure to comply with family obligations is grounds for termination of assistance. A more detailed list can be found in our voucher program guidebook. The owner also has responsibilities that they must follow. Here are a few examples. The owner is responsible for providing decent, safe, and sanitary housing to a tenant at a reasonable rent. Owners must comply with the terms of the Housing Assistance Payment (HAP) contract and lease, and must also comply with fair housing and ADA requirements. Fresno Housing's responsibilities include, but are not limited to, complying with non-discrimination and fair housing laws. Fresno Housing shall not deny any family or individual the opportunity to apply and receive assistance under Section 8 programs on the basis of age, race, color, sex, religion, creed, national or ethnic origin, family or marital status, handicap or disability, or sexual orientation. Fresno Housing is required to enforce program rules, verify income, that the eligibility criteria are met, and provide assistance in accordance with subsidy standards. Let's talk about some frequently asked questions about lease requirements. By all means, the landlord may not charge you a different rent from open market tenants. There is no such thing as a separate rent for Housing Choice Vouchers Section 8 tenants. Separate agreements are payments for additional rent for items normally included in the rent or for items not shown on the approved lease. These separate agreements are not legal. Owners and families may execute separate agreements for services, appliances, other than range and refrigerator, and other items that are not included in the lease if the agreement is in writing and approved by Fresno Housing. If there is to be a separate agreement, the family must have the option of not utilizing the service, appliance, or other item. Any appliances, services, or other items which are routinely provided to unassisted families as part of their lease, such as air conditioning, dishwasher, or garage, or are permanently installed in the unit, cannot be put under separate agreement and must be included in the lease. If there is to be a separate agreement, the family must have the option of not utilizing the service, appliance, or other item. The landlord will receive 2 separate payments each month. You will pay your portion of the rent, which is based on your income, and Fresno Housing will pay the owner a housing assistance payment, also known as HAP. Reasonable accommodations. A family may request a reasonable accommodation to program rules, policies, practices, or services to permit program participation by individuals with disabilities. Examples include, but are not limited to, addition of a live-in aid, additional bedroom for medical equipment, exception to payment standards. If you need a reasonable accommodation, please email hcvresidents@fresnohousing.org. Use subject line reasonable accommodations and your full name. Total tenant payments, TTP. Total tenant payments is the minimum amount the family will pay towards rent and utilities. This information is located on your RFTA supplemental page. The TTP is the greater of 30% of monthly adjusted income, 10% of monthly income, or $50 minimum rent. Fresno Housing assigns 1 living sleeping room to each 2 persons within the following guidelines. Live-in aides will be provided a separate bedroom if the assisted unit is the aide's primary residence. No additional bedrooms are provided for the aide's family. Additional family members of the live-in aide may not be approved if it would result in the violation of HQS. A single person will be allocated a one-bedroom voucher. Fresno Housing does not determine who shares a bedroom/sleeping room. Subsidy standards relate to the amount of subsidy, not the family's actual living arrangement. Payment standards is the maximum monthly assistance payment for a family assisted in the voucher program before deducting the total tenant payment by the family. The payment standard is determined by the lower of payment standard for the voucher size issued to the family or payment standard for the size of the unit rented. Here we see, as an example, a family with 5 household members. They qualify for a 3-bedroom voucher. If they leased up in a 3-bedroom unit, they will maximize the value of their voucher of $1,400. If they rent a 4-bedroom unit, they will still be eligible for the maximum rental assistance of $1,400. On the second page of your RFTA packet, you will find the RFTA supplemental form. This page includes important voucher information such as voucher size, TTP, and expiration date. This information can be used to run an affordability test using our online calculator, which is used to see if you pre-qualify for a unit you're interested in renting. We will go over the calculator shortly. Please note, if the minimum rent, shared housing, or prorated assistance boxes are checked, you will not be able to use the online calculator. You will need to find a unit that rents lower than the payment standards used for the voucher size you were issued. Please email us at applicantportal@fresnohousing.org if you have any questions about these selections. This brings us to the affordability test. When you locate a unit and return your RFTA packet to Fresno Housing, we will run an affordability test to ensure the rent the owner is requesting will be affordable to you. This means we take into consideration your voucher size and income, as well as the unit size, rent, and utilities. The calculator we use is available on our website at www.fresnohousing.org. Please keep in mind that if the minimum rent, shared housing, or prorated boxes were checked on your supplemental form, this calculator will not work for you. A Fresno Housing representative will run the affordability test when your packet is turned in. Although the calculated amounts are not guaranteed, use this calculator as an estimate when searching for housing. Searching for available units by using the vacant unit listing provided by Fresno Housing at www.gosection8.com. There are also a number of other resources out there, such as www.rent.com and www.apartments.com, in addition to the classified section of the Fresno Bee. If you have school-age children, safety, work, childcare, and public transportation should be considered in your housing search. Expanding housing opportunities. Benefits of moving to low poverty areas. You may use your voucher anywhere within Fresno County. When moving to low poverty areas, research shows children perform better in school, receive better grades, have lower dropout rates, and college attendance rates are higher. There are greater employment opportunities and reduced crime rates when moving to areas of opportunity. Maps of high poverty concentration are found in your briefing packet. Portability. You may also take your housing choice voucher anywhere within the United States, including Hawaii and Puerto Rico. This is called portability. The qualifications are that you have not leased up yet, that there is time left on your voucher, that the applicant is a resident of Fresno City or County at the time of the application, and that the applicant must meet the eligibility requirements of the receiving housing authority. Contact HCV Portability at fresnohousing.org to inquire about portability. Please note, screening criteria, subsidy standards, payment standards, and other elements of the portability process may differ at other housing authorities. Important next steps. Return the completed RFTA packet via email to hcvleasing@fresnohousing.org or Dropbox located outside of 1331 Fulton Street, Fresno, California 93721. Make sure all forms are signed and completed by both the applicant, participant, and the owner. The rent must meet rent reasonableness criteria and the unit must be affordable. Once the RFTA is completed correctly with all the required attachments, Fresno Housing will request an inspection to be scheduled. to the extent practicable within 15 calendar days. You and the owner must print your names, sign the RFTA, write in the address where you can be contacted, and provide the best phone number where the scheduler can contact you to schedule the inspection. When will housing assistance begin? All of the following must be completed before the beginning of the initial terms of the lease for a unit. Fresno Housing has inspected the unit and has determined that the unit satisfies HQS. The landlord and tenant have executed the lease, including the HUD tenancy addendum and the lead-based paint disclosure. Fresno Housing has approved leasing of the unit in accordance with program requirements. And Fresno Housing has received the owner's move-in certification, verifying that there are no HQS life-threatening deficiencies. Keep in mind, we cannot overlap HUD-assisted contracts. If you're currently living in an assisted unit, such as low-income public housing, your Housing Choice Voucher assistance cannot begin until after your existing assistance ends. At the time the RFTA is returned to Fresno Housing, the unit selected must be ready for inspection within 30 days. If the unit will not be ready within 30 days, it will not be accepted. After the owner completes the RFTA packet, double-check it for completeness. The owner may submit W-9 and owner authorization forms separately via email to hcvleasing@fresnohousing.org. Once you take possession of the keys, you are legally responsible for the unit. Tips for success. Update your contact information. We still need to get in contact with you regarding your voucher status, continuing to update your address and phone number by logging into fresnohousing.org/resident portal. We encourage you to use your voucher where you currently live if the unit is decent, safe, and sanitary. If you're not in a position to stay in that unit, you need to plan on covering costs for mailbox keys, up to $50, security deposit for units, electricity, phone, and cable, and application fees, $35 to $50 per adult. The list of attachments on the left were referenced in your letter. Refer to your letter to locate these attachments. The RFTA packet and its attachments will be issued to you when you complete this orientation. The voucher program guidebook includes units available listing, tenancy addendum, fair housing, equal opportunity for all, a good place to live, protect your family from lead in your home, are you a victim of housing discrimination, and commonly missed items. RFTA packets include request for voucher extension forms, request for tenancy approval or RFTA, owner authorization form, W-9 form, disclosure of lead-based paint, and lease addendum and rider. Make sure to sign and return the voucher form and briefing certification to applicant portal at fresnohousing.org immediately after this presentation. Send the RFTA to hcvleasing@fresnohousing.org or Dropbox located outside of 1331 Fulton Street, Fresno, California 93721 once you locate a unit. Every page must be completed and signed. If you have any questions, contact us via email at applicantportal@fresnohousing.org or call 559-443-8400. Remember, attempt to lease in place before searching for housing. If you do need to search for housing, try searching online, contacting owners, and inquiring about virtual tours, FaceTime walkthroughs, unit photos via text, and online applications, etc. Fresno Housing is doing everything we can to ensure all operations are conducted safely. Visit fresnohousing.org/COVID for additional information. Stay safe and practice social distancing.